welcome to Rising. It's Friday, and I'm joined by the lovely Jessica Burbank and Amber Athey today. Now, I'm going to be handing over the baton to them for much of the rest of the show, but there's so much going on. I had FOMO. I had to come in. Nice to see both of you.
It's great to be here, Robby.
Fantastic. All right, go ahead, Amber. Why don't you tee us off?
Absolutely. Viewers are still fuming at CNN over the network's town hall event with former President Donald Trump, with some calling into question CEO Chris Licht's competency as head of the network leading up to the 2024 election. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hit back at Licht's defense of the town hall as a, quote, newsmaker. She tweeted, "Making news is not the same as covering news. When one wishes to become a participant in events, i.e. making news, they become the story and sacrifice the pretense of a neutral observer." Also, no one got answers. It was 70 minutes of steamrolled propaganda, especially on abortion and sexual assault. Moreover, reports say Licht is facing a fury of internal criticism from his own staffers over the event, with one telling the Post, quote, "I can't believe anyone thought this was a good idea."
Host Anderson Cooper addressed the criticism on air last night. Let's watch.
Many of you think CNN shouldn't have given him any platform to speak, and I understand the anger about that. Giving him the audience, the time, I get that. But this is what I also get. The man you were so disturbed to see and hear from last night, that man is the front runner for the Republican nomination for president. And according to polling, no other Republican is even close. That man you were so upset to hear from last night, he may be president of the United States in less than 2 years. And that audience that upset you, that's a sampling of about half the country. They are your family members, your neighbors, and they are voting. And many said they're voting for him. Now, maybe you haven't been paying attention to him since he left office. Maybe you've been enjoying not hearing from him, thinking it can't happen again. Some investigation is going to stop him. Well, it hasn't so far. So if last night showed anything, it showed it can happen again. It is happening again. He hasn't changed, and he is running hard. You have every right to be outraged today and angry and never watch this network again. But do you think staying in your silo and only listening to people you agree with is going to make that person go away?
All in all, the town hall averaged 3.1 million total viewers. The event outrated Fox and MSNBC as expected, but these are not 2015, 2016 level numbers for the network. Not even close.
I thought that was a pretty good, actually, speech from Anderson Cooper there for my standpoint. Yeah, like what he's saying is true. Obviously, like Trump is running, is very well, could be the nominee, could be the president again. Pretending he doesn't exist doesn't make him go away. And I think there are plenty of criticisms you can level at the format and the moderation and everything. And Brianna and I argued about that yesterday for forever. But it seems like the criticism is the decision they made to have this event at all. Like, that's the criticism internally to CNN, and even then some people on the outside, people like AOC saying like it's irresponsible to do the most basic job of journalism and cover the news. What did you think, Jessica?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think most people's criticism from what I saw, which of course is not all of the criticism that's out there, was he had just had this trial with Jean Carroll, and then came on there and made ridiculous statements that I think he could be sued for defamation again based off of what he said. Just his comments were disgusting, and I think that's what people were mad about. And Anderson, I think, to me, came off a little bit patronizing in that speech, because people can have criticisms about what Donald Trump had a platform to say, especially when it comes to his comments about women. I mean, I think it was disgusting. But the point he makes about Donald Trump's support, calling it like half of the country, he's pretty high on favorability ratings, and his polling doesn't show that he has half of the country. Most of the polling is specific to likely voters, which is at best about 64% of the country. And within that group, he still has a pretty high unfavorability rating of about 51.4%. So I don't know if it's accurate to say that Trump supporters are half of the country.
Well, but among voters, those are the ones who matter heading into the election, right? And shouldn't those people be able to have the candidate that they would be likely supporting go on a major network and answer questions from who I thought was a probably pretty unfriendly moderator? I mean, I just think that AOC's criticism in particular was pretty absurd. The idea that by interviewing someone, you're creating news or becoming part of the news. If that were the case, no journalist could ever interview anybody, because inevitably when you're asking a controversial figure questions and trying to push back and fact check, you're going to become part of the situation there. To me, this is a rejection of basic journalism, the idea that you can't talk to or give a platform to one of the most popular and also likely to be the Republican nominee politicians in the country.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that he was given a platform. I think most people are upset about his comments. For me, when I think about him having a platform and having a whole town hall devoted to him, I think that's fine. I think people should hear from folks running for office. I do believe that mainstream media does a bad job making that even across popular candidates. Bernie Sanders had plenty of town halls, very few of which were given, primetime slots on major news networks. So it has to be even across the board. But I agree that people have a right to hear from the candidates running.
Amber, what do you think about his performance at the debate? I tried to make the case yesterday, and Brianna totally disagreed with me. I thought he didn't do a good job. Like, he talks too much, in my view, about the 2020 election and how he perceives that he was wronged. He talks too much about January 6th and how it wasn't his fault and the people there are patriots. I know Kaitlan Collins started with those questions, but what I think he should do is just pivot, just like move on as quickly as you can. Talk about your agenda, your vision for what you're going to do in 2024. Other people in the Republican fold do that. Like, I was watching the panel afterward. Byron Donalds was asked those same questions, and he moves on quickly and talks about immigration, the economy, etc. Donald Trump never moves on because he's obsessed with it, and I think that he's sabotaging himself because of that. But am I wrong?
No, I mean, I think he would do better to try to have some kind of forward-facing agenda, but the reality is that entire town hall was playing the hits, right? He was hitting on all of those old jokes and talking points that are crowd pleasers, attacking Kaitlan Collins for being a nasty person. I mean, and the crowd loved it, right? They reacted, they laughed, they cheered, because the reality, too, is that as much as people say that they don't like Trump's personality, they like his policies, but not his tweets, the personality is definitely part of it. So I think that people try to tell themselves that they don't like the bombastic nature of Trump, they don't like how funny he can be, but that really goes away when you realize that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has many of the same policies, but doesn't have the same charisma that Trump has and is not doing as well in the polls.
Jessica, do you think this is going to be characteristic of the commentary we're going to have to endure for the next 2 years? And he's going to be running, the media is going to be covering him, and then other Democrats and liberals and progressives are going to be saying, how dare you cover him, or how dare you stick a microphone in his face? It's going to be about the platforming, the all of that stuff. I think that's going to make for some very weird criticism of people who are not Trump aligned at all, but who are just trying to do the job of covering the news.
Yeah, unfortunately, Robby, I do think that that's very possible based on just where political discourse is going. And to the earlier point about, Trump not putting forth a policy platform, an agenda for when he comes to office, and just really seriously playing the hits, fomenting fear in the American people about various things, saying vague things in response to that fear, and really offering no solutions. Unfortunately, what we would have to do to combat someone like Trump running is say, hey, here instead is our policy platform. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, you all should give us a platform to talk about this alternative. Unfortunately, we're not getting that from Biden because a lot of what he ran on, he's discarded once in public office. And so what do we have to talk about now? We have to talk about the media platforming him instead of talking about what would be good for the American people, which is what candidates running for president who are going to be the executive should be talking about. And so I think it's representative of our political discourse as a whole, not just among people who support and dislike Donald Trump.
Yeah, one gets the sense that the media thinks what would be good for the country is less media coverage of things. But maybe that's true. I don't know how you could feel that way if you're in the media. You have such a limiting view of what your role is. Your role is to prevent the dissemination of information. Very interesting. Not my view. More Rising right after this.